Astrology, the study of the cosmos and how it affects us here. Now, a lot of people tend to dismiss it, saying, hey, what does Uranus got to do with me? What can I do to make it have to do something with me? That's just a little pun. Um, but yeah, most people, or a lot of people, are like, I don't see what the stars got to do with any of my business. And I get it. I do. It's not to say that there's like no backing for astrology, right? You know, the moon affects the tides here. So what's to say that other things are affecting other things here as well? My argument for astrology today has very little to do with the stars and space. And I'm sure it has little to do with many aspects of astrology. It's mainly focusing on your sun being, the star sign that you actually know. Like, oh yeah, I'm a Pisces. I was born in the end of February, so I'm a Pisces. You might be like a Taurus or like an Aries or whatever. Star signs are generally speaking a generalization of a person based off of the time of the year that they were born. Now, they get more specific than simply what month you were born in, but not everyone knows their moon or their rising unless they have co-star. In which case, hit me up. Gonna become a co-star influencer. That's my plan. Anyways, back to it. What's the defense that I have for the star signs? Let's get into it. I'm gonna talk about it. You're gonna find out. Before we get into that though, we gotta start with babies. Babies are small and weak and young and dumb. At least by comparison to me. I'm super smart by comparison to a baby. Between the ages of 0 and 6. Children develop a lot. Like their brains growing and growing. They're like the Grinch's heart. Taking in all this information that's around them, processing it, and then like sorting it into categories, learning from it, being like, oh yeah, that's an apple. Oh, the way I feel right now, that's fear. What do I do when I feel afraid? Can I turn to my family? I mean, like, hopefully, but maybe not. There's a lot of information that's coming in, being processed, and being learned. And that's child development, baby. They're growing and learning. Now, between ages of 0 and 4, there's not really any sort of concrete expectation of a child. There are, generally speaking, milestones that, sure, that's like the average time that a child will learn how to walk is in X amount of months. The sound happens at 2 years or whatever, right? There's milestones, but children are different. And so, generally speaking, they're going to be really good at, my kid's really good at getting that pincer grip down. They're really good at the fine motor skills, but they sure do struggle when it comes to sounds and figuring out all of that stuff, right? We're all different and we learn things at our own pace. But all that changes when we hit 4, at least here in Ontario. Can't speak for everywhere else in the world. Haven't gone to school everywhere else in the world or looked into how their schooling works. But I have lived in Ontario for almost 25 years. Have a little bit of knowledge about our school. A little bit. So when you're about 4 years old, you enter into kindergarten. It's not when you hit 4, it's, hey, it's September, which means you could potentially be like a bit over 4.5 years old. You might be more like 3 and 7/10 of the way to being 4, right? Our ages when we enter into kindergarten are not equal. That's sort of the basis of my argument. You enter kindergarten and there's clear expectations that are placed upon you. At the end of a certain amount of time, a report card goes home to your parents and it tells you exactly how well you're doing at each of these things. Now, I haven't done any research and I'm too lazy to do research on this, but I'm willing to bet that on average, the children that are 4.5 years old are doing a little bit better than the children that are 3.5 years old. Like, I don't know, call me crazy, but feel like that's a pretty safe bet to make 8 times out of 10. Obviously, children grow at their own paces, and there's going to be exceptions to that. But if we were just average everything out, probably pretty fair. Now then, what does that actually have to do with our son and our who we are? Well, if the expectations we're placing upon children are the same, yeah. And on average, we can expect that the children born first are going to excel or at least find the subject matter easier to approach than the children that are younger and most likely are more likely, the younger children. They're going to struggle a little bit more, presumably. From this, while we can't expect the same experience for every single child born in a certain section, we can expect an average similar experience, right? Now, that applies to both groupings. The children born in January are probably going to be like, hey, I had this experience when I was in kindergarten. Probably not going to remember it when they're older, but whatever. And the other person in January is going to be like, oh, wow, I also had a similar thing going on. And then the November babies are going to be like, this was what kindergarten was like for me. And January's are going to be like, I don't get that in the slightest. But like the other November babies are going to be like, oh, I went through something a lot like that. I really did find math to be challenging when I was going through elementary school. I got it now, but it was tough for me at the time. And with these similar experiences, and considering that we are going through so much development and we're sorting everything out, it's not unrealistic to expect an average personality trait to be applied to these different groupings, right? You could probably try and scientifically do it after a lot of research. I don't think that that's necessarily on a month by month basis, but 3 months, 4 months, group them into quadrants. Sure, you could probably make some sort of argument about that. I think so. Seems fair. That's me, though. Yeah. Obviously, everyone's different and has their own interests and passions and things that they excel in. But if we're playing averages, because that's what horoscopes are doing, it's not without any backing, at least in this aspect, when it comes to child development and the way that our society is currently set up. That's it. Thanks for watching.